Well, welcome back. This is the third and final episode of our three-part series about buyer broker compensation, what's taking place with that, and trying to give you a better understand really how agents are compensated and what may be taking place in the future as we have some dynamics making their way through the real estate world. So please look at both the first video and the second video to get some context to this. We're going to talk in this final series about what do you think the possible outcomes are going to be as a result of all these changes. So stay tuned and we'll go through that right away. If you looked at the past two videos, we give you a very detailed breakdown on how commissions are split in various ways in a real estate transaction and the role of the brokers and the buyers and the sellers. So please look at that, and we're referencing all of that information as we talk really about some of the considerations that are going to occur as part of this, as well as potential outcomes that could be from all of this too. One of the considerations is that buyers may only search for homes that are offering some sort of buyer broker compensation. They can see that on many of the search sites. It is not something that we as agents have an ability to select only those listings that offer that to our clients. When clients are seeing everything that's on the MLS, they are seeing everything on the MLS regardless of what the buyer's broker's compensation may be. So it's not like we're filtering out only those people that are paying on the buy side. So they see everything. But they're also going to have that information available to them, and they're going to understand as well that if an agent is not going to be paying the buyer broker, the listing agent is not going to be paying the buyer broker, that the buyer may be on the hook for that. And so they may self-select and not look at those type of homes. Maybe only buyers willing to pay the buyer broker fee would be willing to look at those type of homes. That may reduce the buyer pool. Buyers could construct offers with the sellers paying the buyer broker fee, as we showed you an example of in video 2. While sellers may look like they're reducing their expenses, the reduced activity may lead to price reductions. Let's say if it's taken longer to find buyers because maybe there are fewer buyers who are willing to pay their own side of the buyer broker fee, that reduction in buyers could be a reduction in demand, and that could lead to longer days on market, and maybe could lead to some price reductions as well. We could have listing brokers having increased dual agency, which brings about questions of loyalty, the duty, and whether or not both parties feel as though they're getting represented equally or fairly. Sellers may have to contend with unrepresented buyers, and that brings about its own complexity. The listing broker would really have a difficult time helping that buyer without creating, at the very least, implied agency, but more than likely have to enter into an agency agreement with them, of which then you are in dual agency. And home prices may decrease as a result of reduced activity. We all know that the sooner or the quicker a home goes under contract, the closer you're probably going to get to your asking price, or at least the best price you can get out there. The longer it sits on the market, the greater likelihood that that price is going to come down. So here are some probable outcomes that we're going to see as a result of all of this. One, there's going to be longer and more detailed conversations between the consumer, both buyers and sellers, and their agents about brokers' fees and compensation. That's very, very healthy. I think there's been, in the past, this part has either been glossed over, ignored, not fully explained, and both the seller and the buyer haven't had a really good, full understanding and comprehension of what all is taking place. So if it brings about more conversation, better understanding, I think that's awesome. So expect that to take place. And expect that from your agent to be able to take the time and explain it to you so that you can understand it, especially for your specific scenario. I think there's going to be some short short-term knee-jerk reactions about buyer-broker compensation from sellers. Sellers are going to say, hey, I heard I don't have to pay the buy side part of the compensation anymore. Let's not offer any. So I want to reduce my selling expenses and only pay you, Mr. Listing Agent, that portion of your services and offering nothing else to the buy side. So we're going to see some of that. We're going to see some probably negative impact to first-time buyers, minorities, veterans, anybody who probably has limited funds available for them to do both down payment and closing costs, and then try to have the money to be able to pay for their buyer representation. You could see them dropping out of the market or being frustrated about the fact that they thought they were close to being able to get a house, but to find out that there's nobody going to pay for their broker, and this is not something they can really do themselves, and no one's willing to help them. Or if they try to do it on their own, more than likely they are going to be the disadvantaged party in that two-party transaction. So I think that this could have some negative impact on that buying set. We could have a little slowdown in home sales as buyers try to evaluate where things stand as far as how much money they may need to buy a house. Maybe they not only need the down payment, they need a closing cost, but they need to come up with the fees for their buyer representation. That may cause them to pause a little bit, think about, check, is this something they want to move forward with? What kind of cost it's going to be? And slowness in the market from the buy side will probably have some negative impact on sellers. They're taking into account high mortgage rates, high home prices, and now maybe they've got additional costs that they weren't expecting, that in the past had been picked up and borne by the selling side and the listing broker. We would probably see a rebound back after there's trial and error about how much adjusting you can make on these different fees. And people may recognize that in order to have fluid transactions, to have buyers as engaged as you want them to be, that you may have to resort back to our really current situation that we have out in the marketplace today. So I think that there could be some rebound back from that. I also believe there's going to be a reduction in the number of real estate agents because all of these transactions got a little bit harder. And all the interactions with the consumer, whether it's the buyer or the seller, is going to take somebody that's got some experience, has the ability to communicate, has the ability to articulate the nuances of how compensation is done, understand how these agreements are written, understand how this may be applied with an offer and an agreement of sale. And so that requires some skill. Not everybody out there with a real estate license has the level of skill, understanding, knowledge, or patience to be able to do this. So as a result, I think you're going to have some reduction in real estate agents. As a result, I think you're also going to have a reduction in the number of real estate offices, because this is going to have an effect on how compensation is as far as commissions that come into the brokerages. We are already under significant pressure from the infrequent number of transactions that we have out there today. It's beginning of 2024 in a couple weeks. We're going to end 2023 nationwide doing about 3.9 million transactions, which is about it's 5.3 million where the number of transactions done last year, and the year before that was 6.2 million. So we've had significant reduction in transactions. That's a significant reduction in the income coming into all these brokerages, and they all cannot survive. So you may see some consolidation among real estate brokerages and offices in order for them to be able to manage the fewer agents that they may have. So these are just projections. We'll have to see how it takes place in the marketplace. I hope that this has given you some better understanding, better knowledge, better appreciation of what's going on during a real estate transaction as far as how these brokers and agents are compensated. And if you have any questions, shoot us a comment, give us a like or a subscribe, and we'll try to help you out. Stay tuned as we continue to provide to you on this channel more information, more knowledge, so you can be a better real estate consumer. Have a great day.